Hey, what's going on everyone? This is JoeYoursTruly back with the video, and today we're going to be going over the patch notes for Predecessor version 0.6. There's a lot of stuff to unpack right here, so I'll be doing my best to summarize everything that's new and kind of giving my honest impressions and thoughts on all these new stuff to lead us to the start of Season 2 tomorrow. So without further ado, let's kind of dive right into this, and that is the one kind of thing that kind of stuck out to me immediately is the focus on helping build longer time to kill. So time to kill just essentially means how fast someone can go from 100 to 0 HP kind of thing. And I think there's been kind of a good amount of complaints with the time to kill being too low, or while people feel like they're getting killed way too quickly. It's like all it takes is one stun and then they're just instantly kind of dead in team fights. So it seems like the team wants to try to increase the time to kill with this patch and with future consecutive patches. So with that in mind, what they're trying to do is they're trying to just make team fighting a little bit more tactical, I guess, in a sense. Because I mean, you should be rewarded when you get like really good CC setup and whatnot, but at the same time, it shouldn't be like the all be to be in to for like these kind of team fights. So like you can get a really good stun, can give you a really good advantage, but it shouldn't be like the instant like guaranteed team fight win by just getting one CC and just being able to buzz down people really quickly. So it's gonna be really interesting seeing how they kind of tackle this throughout the future patches, but it's good to see that they're trying to tackle this time to kill issue that some people are kind of talking about that we experienced in Season 1. So with that in mind, one of the first areas they're going to try to tackle, it's actually going to tackle carries, because I think it's kind of fair to say with the last big patch with the ADC item changes, with Kira being in the roster, it kind of felt like ADCs were a bit overtuned in terms of they were really kind of strong in the sense that ADCs are supposed to be kind of scaling champions. They're supposed to have a mid to late game power spike and they kind of do ADC stuff from there on. But it seems like with the previous big update, ADCs were getting way too strong way too quickly. Like in the early game, I remember I played Kira and all it takes is me just getting one item, all of a sudden I'm like busting people 100 really fast. So that's definitely part of like the time to kill issue being too low. ADCs were definitely probably a role that was contributing to that. So it seems like in this patch you're gonna see down below they're gonna be tackling this time to kill by first nerfing ADCs, which seems to be kind of one of the main outliers. But I think hitting ADCs and maybe taking a look at other roles as well is something they definitely need to be doing with future patches in mind. But also, along with the time to kill being addressed in that, we're also getting buffs and nerfs, so like Fade Mao, we're getting some Fade changes and whatnot. And so it's good. Well, let's kind of jump straight into Phase kind of thing. So with Phase, obviously she's the new hero for Season 2. She's gonna be the first new support hero we ever got in the early access. We got mid offlane, we got carry, we got like the other roles, but not necessarily like a support kind of hero yet. So this is definitely very exciting stuff to see right here. And we also get a glimpse of what her actual kit is. So essentially her new passive is essentially Essence Countless. So after finishing casting ability, she gains attack speed, bonus magical damage on hit, and 5 mana on specific evasive attacks for 3 seconds. So this is definitely like a new part of Phase's kit. This wasn't like back in Paragon version of it, and it seems like. So let's actually talk about abilities before I go jump back into the passive. But a lot of her abilities are kind of like, are essentially just like her Paragon counterpart. Well, you got the Q, which is essentially a blind you can kind of get. Yeah, it says a blind here for 1 to like 1.4 seconds. And the interesting thing about this is her abilities have certain I guess interactions once you have a buddy link kind of thing. You guys already saw like the video, so you guys probably have a good idea. But essentially her link ability is this RB ability, which you apply a link to an ally, you gave them bonus physical power while link, and then you reactivate this ability, you get to pull them towards you. And you guys know this is a very long cooldown right here, because being able to pull an ally out of safety it's a very powerful ability potentially. So to kind of balance this out, you have a very long kind of cooldown on this. So good phase plays will need to know when to pull someone and when not to pull them, because when you pull that person, you won't be able to pull anyone else out of danger for a good amount of time. And so when you link to someone with your RB, you also like be able to like have certain abilities, like for example with Q, around phase you can apply a blind around you, but if you also attach your link ally, you also apply the same effects to them as well. And so it's the same thing with Hyperflex ultimate, which essentially you gain both yourself's attack speed, movement speed, and army fam for about 8 seconds. So this is gonna be, so phase is gonna essentially be shaking up the dual lane, because certain heroes like Sparrow are very good hyper carries, and with phase she pretty much enables Sparrow to do like really insane stuff. So I think Sparrow is gonna be definitely doing a little bit better next patch as just an example, and it's gonna really shake up like the dual lane kind of meta. And one last ability I haven't gone over is just her E ability, which essentially you channel magical damage over 2.5 seconds, and if you get 8 stacks on the target, like shoot the beam out, you get 8 ticks on them, you get to root them kind of thing. So this is going to be a skill shot kind of ability. This is probably going to be your main way of being able to like trade and kind of harass the enemy dual lane, is by just getting an E. If you get root off, unlike the ADC, that's a free kind of trade you and your ADC would get. And that's probably where this Essence Catalyst comes to play. Essentially, you root someone with your E, and then you walk up to them and you auto attack them. You do bonus magical damage on head, you get some mana back when you hit them for a little bit and whatnot. So I think her passive just pretty much plays around a lot of her E kind of thing. Of course, you can kind of get some good stuff up with your Q and RB and your ultimate, but I think this is, her passive pretty much enables her to be more of a lane bully. I see. Like I think it's a passive that might fall off mid to late game, because you don't really need the mana back on specific basic attacks. You won't have that much damage as the game goes on, but I think this is still a great passive all things around. Just kind of enables phase to kind of fall up on herself and whatnot, and just be able to do great stuff in the dual lane early game. Major improvements of Season 1 rewards. They did talk about we'll be getting Season 1 rewards at starting Season 2. So here this is the profile avatar icon, counter Kira, and then just the counter skin and the Kira skin if you reach these different levels. And of course, if you reach plus 50 levels, you get additional platinum per 10 levels. Now, comparative nights, so this is the one thing that they said is going to come in Season 1 but got pushed back. But it seems like with the start of Season 2, we're going to actually get comparative nights. So pretty exciting stuff. Starting April 27th, we're going to be opening up the comparative nights queue for 3 hours every Thursday evening for Europe and NA East regions. This is kind of interesting. NA East, like there's no mention of NA West kind of thing. Or like there's another server for like the Asian kind of folks, I believe. There's like a 4th server. So it seems like competitive nights is only going to be restricted to 2 of the 4 regions for now. So it's definitely a little interesting decision right there. Another interesting decision is it's going to be a party of 5. So this is not going to be a solo queue competitive night as you guys respect. Well, you kind of queue up solo, you get match made with random people, and you just guys play in a very competitive environment. Seems like with the first iteration of competitive nights, you have to be forming a stack of 5 going into this. So I can see why they want to do this in a sense, because people have complained, and I also kind of have similar issues with you play like a lot of games, you get to a point where you're facing against 5 stacks and as a solo queue environment. That's just not like fun, right? Going like you solo queue and then you're facing off a 5 stack. And there's been MMR like adjustments to kind of help balance that, but there's only so much you can do with a small population. It's just not going to be fun if you're trying to have a fun time on the evening and you go against a 5 stack, right? So with competitive nights, it seemed like they want kind of put a band-aid on it in a sense. Well, you queue with like 3 hours on the Thursday evening, you're gonna see all the stack players go into it kind of thing. So it leaves the solo kind of queue a little bit like less free, or not less free, just have less 5 stacks in general. I don't know, this is a little interesting because there's also an implication, and that is if you're gonna have competitive nights happening on a Thursday evening once a week, then you might see more 5 stacks outside Thursday evenings because, of course, with competitive nights, people kind of want to grind it out. They want to see if they can be the best 5 stack in their region. So they might be practicing a lot more outside of competitive nights. And so if this is supposed to be a band-aid solution to 5 stack issues in solo queue, it might make it a little bit worse because there might be more incentive to 5 stack, get some practice in before you actually queue up in the competitive night queue on the Thursday evening. So this is going to be very kind of interesting to see what this would do with the matchmaking quality and whatnot over time. But I think outside of that, I think doing a 5v5 competitive night, it won't be a bad thing because I guess this is gonna be a good way to kind of get some good practice in, because I know my team, we try to like scrim a lot with other people, but half the time we get teams that kind of cancel on us last minute. It'd be kind of hard to like actually organize good consistent scrim games. So in the sense, competitive nights for me and my team at least, it's gonna be like another consistent way to get scrim games in without having to like reach out and find other teams kind of thing. So I think competitive nights will help the more competitive teams get some consistent games in, get some more practice in, maybe help enable newer teams get together, try to see if they can win the gauntlet, if they can do good together, and then they go sign up for tournament games. But I won't rant on this a little bit too much. I kind of give you guys a good idea of my thoughts on that as well. So replay system, this is going to be our first iteration of the replay system. Well, essentially, you beat the replay matches and have a spectate feature as well. So yeah, this is where you get to watch back recent game matches as well as matches your friends play. So if you were friends with certain people, you can, it sounds like you can actually see their recent matches as well. So that's gonna be kind of interesting. If you're kind of friends with really good players, like for you guys see my friends list from here and there, I'm friends with a lot of other content creators. This means I can technically go in and see how other content creators are doing in their recent matches and can kind of see what they're doing. So this is gonna be kind of interesting to see how this feature plays out. I really wish it kind of do like a quick video of the patch notes, because it'd be a really great opportunity to kind of give us a good overview of the replay system. Because all this is telling us is, hey, we got the replay system. Here are all the different shortcut keys, be the play, pause, HUD on and off, all that stuff. But we won't actually know how the replay system actually will like look like once we get into it, or rather, it'll be nice if there'll be an official like overview of the replay system instead of relying on content creators kind of going over it kind of thing, I guess what I'm trying to say. But it's still really cool that we get that replay system, because I did just recently mention that I want to start potentially looking into reviewing VODs from you guys, being able to like really trying to help you guys out, trying to give back to the community a little bit more by helping improve like games from you guys. So I think this is going to be a great tool to like be able to like look at your guys' games and me just kind of commentate, kind of give you guys some good insights into it, instead of just being like a YouTube video like you guys have to upload and have to watch. So this is going to be probably definitely really solid for not only more different kinds of content creation, but also it could potentially be used for these tournaments. So instead of using like the Discord like screen share that we've been seeing, we're gonna be able to have a more proper in-game system. Only time will tell like if this actually get used or not. This is gonna be the very rough first iteration by the looks of it, but hopefully it's enough of a really great start that we can start using it, and then it'll only get better over time. Public API, this is actually gonna be pretty huge. For those who do not know what this means, this essentially means that you'll be able to have like public stats available. So essentially, this is like a public API website you guys see right here. Well, you can look at the champions, and then you can see like top lane, Malphite has a 52% win rate. Here are all the items he's using. Here's the ability level up. You see all these stats, and these stats are very helpful, right? These are the kind of stats that people can learn from and see what's kind of going on in this current meta. This site, for example, I've been using this site a lot for looking up items really quick and whatnot, and they did say they're gonna be doing like a public API pretty soon once that is up. So I'm anticipating this site is gonna be an excellent site to that can take really good advantage of this public API that may be coming out. I know people who work with the site, they're very awesome and smart people, so definitely keep an eye on this site once the patch goes live and see if we can get a public API like this, because essentially it's gonna make we're gonna get a better glimpse of just what's going on in general, because right now the only kind of tier list or other meta kind of understanding we have is just from word of mouth, from like other content creators, from streamers and whatnot. We don't have the actual data to back up our claims, and I keep saying that in my previous tier list videos. I wanted to see the stats to have like confidence in what I'm saying is true, is not misleading you guys. So I'm personally very excited for public API, because this means that I can take a quick look at the stats. I can be like, okay, I think Crunch is a really great hero, but I may have bias, so I want to check how he actually is, like the raw stats and kind of thing. So public API is going to be very cool to have it see it officially in the game. So I'm going to, not in the game, but it's going to be to the public for us to look at and be able to play around with this. So I'm very excited to take a deep dive into it 100%. So community event, there was a community event where it was counted for the hundreds in terms of the most kills they can get in a week. Kira was the winner, so this is gonna be the community event exclusive Kira profile avatar. So this is what we're gonna be getting along with the season 1 of rewards. New skins, we're gonna get 3 new skins, one with Phase, with Faye, and Steadrock. So very kind of cool skin. This is a very nice Phase skin to kind of build up a little bit more hype around her release 100%. These are just kind of like other minor improvements, like map improvements, recommend. I've now included tonics, so this is all kind of just quality of life right there. So moving on to the balance changes. So the one way they're gonna be tackling nerfing carries, because the whole like I said earlier, one of the goals was to kind of go into time to kill and whatnot, like trying to reduce it, and the way they're gonna do it is they're gonna be hitting carries first. So essentially, the way they're gonna tackle that is, first off, they're gonna actually be reducing the base critical strike damage by 5%. This sounds a lot, but if you combine this with the other carry nerfs you're gonna see down below, it's actually gonna be like a pretty good like nerf to carries all around, because like I said, carries have been a little bit kind of overtuned a little bit. You were seeing them in the mid and off lane roles just because of how strong they are, but it seems like now they're going to be kind of tacked down, and hopefully we're going to be stop seeing carries not play outside of the carry roles as much. Basic attack scaling adjustment is another thing. So critical strike damage is being reduced, but also they're going to be reducing the attack scaling a lot as well. So essentially, you're going to see it here in the down below. Like for example, this is what I mean by the reducing the attack scaling. The reducing attack scaling of Drongo from 90% to 80%. So that's a 10% decrease in damage essentially for carry. So along with critical strike damage being decreased, you're going to be also seeing a decrease in attack scaling as well. So this is going to be very interesting to see how carry is going to feel, because there's a lot nerfs being directly at carries directly. So we're going to be definitely testing out carries this week and see how they feel. But it seems like to balance that out, they're also going to be increasing ability damage specifically for each carries as well, so they don't feel like the game receive too many nerfs. They get some compensation here and there. So for specific heroes, this is gonna be, so you're gonna see a lot of heroes. Well, this is gonna be like this is not just to carries exclusively for like basic attack scaling being decreased. You're gonna be seeing this across all the other heroes in the current roster. So for Countess, she's gonna receive a nerf from 100% to 90%. Crunch, so like Countess doesn't really matter because her main thing is ability damage, but for someone like Crunch who auto attacks a lot, it's a little bit more significant. He's gonna have bonus physical scaling decreased by 10% on his auto attacks, but he gets some more compensation by having an increased scaling on his passive kind of thing. Alright, so Drongo is gonna be the first ADC that's gonna receive the most kind of nerfs and changes. So again, this is like 10% nerf to his auto attacks. He's gaining nerf to his gag grenade, so it's gonna be even a smaller radius. It used to be 400, but now it's gonna be 300 now, so it's gonna be very a lot smaller noticeably. So when rounds, it's a debuff where they're gonna reducing the cooldown from 14 to 10 seconds at max level, but the first damage shot is gonna be decreased from 40 to like it's gonna be a 20 less than what it is at max level. So all Rusty, his RB is gonna cooldown change right here, and the mana cost decrease right here. So Shrapnel Cannons is one that's a bit interesting. They're increasing the base damage of his ultimate from like 425 to 450 right here at max level. The physical shred duration is half the duration, and the self-knockback distance is lower. So essentially, what I'm kind of anticipating what's going to happen is Drongo is someone that loves critical strike chance builds, which is kind of like the best way to build ADCs all around. And as we kind of go down further and we see the nerfs to all the crit items, I anticipate that Drongo may find a different meta kind of build path, and that is he might be better build with assassin items. So I kind of did a video on assassin Drongo with build like Malady and penetration items, because again for ADCs you can build crit, on hit, or penetration build. Crit builds has been a little bit too potent, so you just pretty much build that on almost every ADC, but now that it's getting toned down a lot more, I think there's gonna be consideration to actually build Drongo with penetration build, especially with these kind of changes we're seeing right here. Fei Mao buffs. So essentially, one of the big things of doing with Fei Mao is helping with mana issues is something that I complain a lot. And it's definitely not as bad as it used to be because there's a lot more items to, like for example, the new Mind Racer really helps Fei Mao a lot in helping to solve the mana issues. But it seems like he's gonna get some more mana love, so you're not as reliant on Mind Racer, I would say, but overall just gonna make him feel a little bit better to play in the early game, especially where he kind of sees those mana issues the most. So he's gonna get mana growth increase, so as the game goes on you get a little bit more mana over time. Again, they're tackling like the auto attacks, scaling all heroes, that also includes Fei Mao. And his Guardian Shield is going to have a decreased mana from 60 to 50. So this is a pretty big deal because a lot of like Fei Mao offlane training power evolves using his Q a lot. So having not only increased mana growth but a mana decrease on his Q makes him a bit more healthier mana sustain wise. So very good stuff all around for Fei Mao. So Gideon, they're doing a slight nerf to his Q ratios, and also so they're nerfing his Q, but they also increases RB in compensation. So his Q is not going to be as like hurting as much, but at the same time his RB is going to be hitting a bit more. So it's going to feel a little bit more rewarding being here to hit Q and RB, or while there's going to be more requirement to hit both of them to get the same kind of value, I guess I'm trying to say. So for Grux, he's the one that has the similar issues with Fei Mao, that he kind of goes through mana pretty quickly. I agree with this because playing Grux offlane, I definitely notice his mana can go by really quickly. Especially you want to be playing Grux aggro and lane, and the fact that you get kind of punished from it by going through your mana too quickly. So this is gonna be a great change to see all the things considered for Grux. So Howitzer, he's getting kind of a slight tone down on his Q. His Q really hurts, so it's good to see that he's getting 5%, and we're just gonna see how this is gonna feel over time right there. Clyde, just a auto attack adjustment. Chimera will also see an auto attack adjustment. This is interesting. A lot of people will just a 10% decrease. Chimera is actually having a physical power scaling decrease by 20%. That is pretty interesting. Because they're saying he's been struggling lately with the early game potency, but they're decreasing his bonus physical power scaling on his all attacks by 20%. So this is kind of hurting his early game a bit, because now your clears are going to be kind of interesting. Like, so now your clears are going to be more reliant on your Q, because the compensation pretty much they nerf his auto attacks by 20%, but you get compensation with his Q where you get more 20% more cleave damage, and you get a little bit more scaling on your Q. But this is gonna be kind of interesting to see how his early game clears is gonna feel, because in my head this kind of seems like a sort of a nerf, just because you're not going to always have your Q up when you do your clears. So I'm gonna have to see how his early game clears feel 100%. I'm probably reading into this a little too early. I might as well just kind of go into the game and play myself. So for Q, another big ADC change all around with her. 10% decrease on her auto attacks. So interesting thing they're doing is they're changing the damage type of her dust, her Q ability, from magical to physical. What this means is that before, when you face off against a really fat Kira, you obviously build physical armor, right? But then she have abilities like Q that does magical damage, so all that physical defense you build against her, you won't get that same resistance against her Q, which does a lot of damage. So now they're making things more consistent, and that her Q is not going to do physical, so now your physical armor you build will also be helping decrease her Q damage and whatnot. I'm just kind of going through damage per, so her additional damage per stack is being decreased. Her scaling per stack is increased by 20 to 50%. So the base damage per additional stack is decreased from this number, but her scaling per stack is decreased. So this seems like a kind of number adjustment they're doing right here. And also they're doing the max damage changing. So I think that her Q is still kind of a nerf because of the magical to physical like conversion, but it seems like there's a lot of like numbers and adjustments being made right here. So I can't really tell if it's like a buff or nerf. I think this is just like throwing some numbers around and whatnot. Shadow Glide E, lockout window decrease. So essentially what this means is that sometimes when you try to E and use your ultimate, there's a like delay, right? You E and then there's like a half-second delay before you can use your ultimate. That's called a lockout window. So what essentially what it's trying to say is they're decreasing the lockout window so you can E and use your ultimate much faster. So this is actually kind of a quality of life buff to Kira right here. And same thing with the RB will use your RB, there's a lockout before you can auto attack or use your abilities, but they decrease that so you can use your other inputs faster. So Belica, the one change they're making for her is they're reducing the gold on her E, reduced from 20 to 10, because you want to use your E aggressively in lane, but it kind of feels bad if every time you use it they destroy for 20 gold. Now a good E means that it won't be destroyed, but at the same time, oftentimes it will get usually destroyed because of how long it lasts. So it feels a little bit better you giving less gold to your opponents for free right there. The Modok, essentially, again, adjusting the auto attack damage ratios. They're decreasing the wood duration of his traps, and then reducing the radius on the traps as well. A big change they're doing for Modok is they're removing the slow immunity. So for those who do not know, you just pop E, and then all like the slows and abilities getting ultimate, fake Q, all those different abilities, you can essentially just ignore that with just a push of a button, and it's very potent on the ADC because essentially it means that it doesn't matter if you slow down the Modok, you can just press E and just keep running at you. And so the only way you can like stop him is to just stun him kind of thing, right? So by also adding slow immunity, it makes it easier to like escape a Modok running at you because his E has an increased movement speed on it. So now you can counter that increased movement speed by reducing that movement speed with your abilities now. So Buckshot is a very good like potent ability. So they're decreasing the fallout range of it from 60 to 50%. They're increasing the damage from like at base 200 to 215, but they're also decreasing the total physical scaling from these numbers to this. So essentially, I'm kind of looking at this and I think it's a little slight nerf all around. There's a lot of different adjustments they're doing with it right here. The cooldown is lower right here, but not by much. You get more base damage, but but the scaling over time is lower. So I think what this means is that Murdoch's buckshot is still gonna be potent early game, but won't feel as deadly in the mid to late game. I guess is what they're trying to do right here. Now bash, so this is just a decrease to his auto attacks. Rampage, same thing, less damage to his auto attacks. Revenant is kind of interesting because so like essentially ADCs are all kind of gain nerf in terms of having less auto attack damage and whatnot, but with how Revenant Kit is uniquely, they're not actually touching that. They're still keeping the 100% attack base attack ratio because he's strictly like a crit build, right? Like you can't do on hit, you can't do penetration like you can do on Revenant with other carries. So because of that, they're not really touching his auto attack ratio as much. They're gonna keep it about the same, but also instead they're gonna touch his other kits. So essentially, they're decreasing the gold bounty from 50 to 25, and the bonus physical power is decreased from like 50% to 10%. Obliviate, interesting thing is they're decreasing the damage of it slightly, but also decreasing the range. So your weapon won't be the really kind of home to really far away. It's gonna be toned down just a tad, and I'm gonna see how this new range kind of plays into it. And because of the critical strike damage, it's being reduced all around. They're also like adjusting his passive as well by also giving like a 5% decrease right here. So this is going to be a nice buff to Richter, because essentially what they're doing with him is they're doing a lot of like mana, like quality of life stuff. So same thing with Grux and Fame Mao, where they have a lot of mana issues early on. It can kind of be hard to playing them aggressive off lane or have kind of faster clears in the jungle. So now you're gonna have the same thing with Richter right here. You have a base mana increase right here, you have a base mana growth right here. You're gonna have a little bit less mana regeneration, but you're gonna have more mana over time starting off in the laning phase. His shield passive is gonna be increased by 3%. His base attack is gonna be low right here. And this is the really nice thing. His E ability, Electrocute, is not gonna do 20% additional damage to monsters. So this is gonna push Richter to be more of an actual viable jungler. Like you can play Richter jungle actually pretty decently. Like he's not that bad of a jungler, but now with this nice quality of life, he's gonna have a better like early kind of clear. So it makes Richter jungling with the more mana and more doing damage to monsters in the jungle. It's gonna make Richter feel a little bit better, like in both the offlane and jungle. So I'm very excited to kind of test this out myself. Zevlog, big thing is decreasing his Q again. So Zevlog is a very tanky boy in lane, and so now. And one of the reasons is because he gets minion healing on his Q. So now they're decreasing it again by 5%. Because I think this used to be higher, this should be 15%, or it used to be greater than 10%. It got nerfed, and now they're nerfing again to just 5%. So it's going to be making him easier to kind of push in lane and kind of push him out of lane. So he's not in the lane as long as he kind of used to be. Shinbi, very nice quality of life for him, and power base attack now implies a track stack. So essentially, now with your like ultimate, you have up to a max of 8 stacks to be able to get full ultimate off. But now your basic attack along with your passive can now apply that. So now when you engage on someone, you can now auto attack them. That applies 1 stack. You can kill them another stack, on BE, all that good stuff. So it helps her get to like her ultimate 8 stacks faster. So it's a very great thing to see. Not much has changed about Spell, which is kind of interesting. They haven't really touched her like R&B or other abilities, so I think the reason is because they felt like Spell was a little bit not as great compared to other ADCs, because definitely Kira, Murdoch, and Jungle are very good ADCs. I think Spell has been kind of falling out of meta a little bit just because those ADCs are a bit better all around compared to Sparrow, so they didn't really nerf her that much. So hopefully the nerfs to the other ADCs brings her online more with Sparrow, and Sparrow can get the shine, which I think she will, especially with the release of Phase and with builds like on hit being a lot more viable. Because I think Sparrow is definitely meant to build on hit builds. It's just crit builds just been so much stronger than on hit, so I'm definitely gonna be testing her out as well. So still, the big thing is reducing the shield duration from 5 seconds to 3.5 seconds. This is kind of a pretty good nerf because steel support can really stall taking the tower, or just in general. You get the place down the shield for 5 seconds, and those 5 seconds you can hit the turret. In those 5 seconds your whole mini wave can dive and you can't really hit the turret. But now there's going to be a little bit more window opportunity to actually hit the turret a little bit before your mini wave die. So with Faye, the Faye, her mana cost on her E is going to be decreased from 80 to 60. So this is going to reward players who's aggressive with her E and whatnot. So it makes it feel better to play this kind of playstyle more. Alright, so now we're going to finally get into items right here. Sentry is going to be reduced by 3 seconds. And quest, I'm going to be taking a look at the quest item. So it's going to be kind of a nerf to support quests in the form they're gonna get less gold per stack, which it's gonna be like less than 5, but it doesn't sound a lot. But you get the proc, like you get bonus gold, like I don't know like the exact number top of my head, but you get like 8, 10, 15 stacks, right? You get 15 charges and you get bonus gold. So you do 15 times 5, right? That's like, I think that's 75 less gold kind of thing, which like it's gonna be a little bit kind of big deal to support, because it just means that they're gonna be as wealthy, I guess, in terms of items. So there's gonna be a slight nerf to that, unfortunately, but I'm gonna see how this kind of plays out for sure. Got some nerfs to like Brutal Life, so less physical power. You get health increase to 200, but you don't get the Purifying Rage attack speed anymore, kind of thing. So essentially, I guess they want to like make this more of an actual like cleanse item instead of just a more enable kind of attack item. Viscerator, attack scaling decreased by 3%. Liberator, lifesteal decreased by 3%. You won't get a Guardian Shield level scaling like anymore with it. Pacifier, your adrenaline bonus damage can no longer critically strike. This is a very interesting change, because when you use this quest, your next empower auto attack will do bonus damage, and that bonus damage used to be critically strike, but now it's no longer going to be doing so. But in compensation, they're increasing by 5%. So it's making Pacifier still be pretty potent in doing the increased damage on that first auto attack, but now it's going to be no longer as abusable, I guess, in terms of critical strikes chance builds. With Stalker, physical penetration increased by 2, Army Fam decreased from 6 to 4%. There's gonna be all this like T1, T2 items. I just want to jump into the T3 items. But essentially, I did the one big thing is Iron Warbow. It's not gonna be as potent of a T2 item by the looks of it, so there's one thing definitely taking into consideration. Absolution, so they're gonna be removing the determined passive on it, and they're gonna reduce the damage mitigation from 25 to 20%, but also reducing the gold. So essentially, Absolution is not gonna be as great of an anti-CC ability anymore. So because it gives you a lot of stuff outside of the anti-CC part, especially with the determined passive, but they're removing that and making this more strictly an anti-CC option. So it's still gonna be a great anti-CC option, but it won't be as universal in terms of you can take advantage of other stats, right? You're gonna be building this if you need to counter CC, not just because they have a lot of good stats on them. Reach is gonna be increased by 100 gold. Demonstration increased by 100 gold. So they just this is kind of like minor nerfs to like these ADC items. Lightning Hawk is actually going to be giving a pretty decent nerf. So reduced by 5% physical power. The shielding stab scaling is decreased by 25%, and the shielding stab slow magnitude is decreased by 5%. So Lightning Hawk is a very good like first pick item, especially in these crit builds. So now they're kind of reducing it, so it's not as great of a power spike anymore. King's Bane is interesting. They're changing the magical type. The damage type from magical to physical. This is the same thing as Kira, as I mentioned earlier. So when you build physical armor against ADCs, now you're gonna actually have resistance against ADC damage, because now items or builds that does magical damage will now do physical damage. So now you're actually reducing the ADC damage output and whatnot. Resolution 5% damage decrease. Sky's Blue is gonna have an increase in attack speed, but also have a passive decrease by 25%. Viper, they're gonna just straight up remove ability haste. So Viper was actually kind of an item that was always good in crit builds because they just give you all the stats you want. It's like a huge stat stick, but now they're removing ability haste, so it's gonna tone down that universality a bit. So it's probably not gonna always be an item you always want to build, or whether you're gonna build this item, but it's not gonna be as potent anymore. Takedown rounds, it's gonna be decreased scaling by 5%. It's gonna have a different kind of scaling from 12% to 15 bonus physical power. So this is going from 12% total physical power to 15% bonus physical power. So it's definitely like an interesting adjustment right there. So we have to see how that plays out. Terminus, they're removing an endless passive. So whenever you get takedowns, you just get a really large shield. So this is a very potent item on ADCs like Revenant, where you ult someone, you kill them, you gain this really fat shield once you're out in the nether realm that really helps your survivability. But now they're kind of removing that. They haven't touched the lifesteal component, which is still very kind of good, but now you won't have these shields that you keep getting on takedowns kind of thing. Technical Shield decrease physical power by 5, but you're gonna also get physical penetration out of it. Deathstalker, 100 less gold, increased physical power, but you get decreased ability haste. Basilisk, increased health from 250 to 300, with a different recipe right here. The Draconium is actually gonna get a nerf right here because Draconium was actually always been a really solid item on fighters just because it's just so easy to get max stacks. All you need to do is take damage and you build stacks, right? But now you can no longer stack this item up by taking damage. You can now only stack this item with basic attacks and abilities. So essentially you have to be proactive to build these stacks up, which for certain heroes maybe like a Crunch won't be as big of a deal, but essentially you won't be able to if you get CC locked for 1-2 seconds, you won't get those 5 stacks for free. Now it's gonna take you longer to get max stats to get this benefit out. So I think overall it's an adjustment, but it's a kind of good nerf adjustment. So Fire is not gonna have the ability to get the 10 stacks of it as easily. Tainted Scepter, increasing blight duration by 1 second. And then nothing like the Cyan and Gold buff. So essentially for the Cyan above the one in the off lane, now it's going to get less HP kind of growth per minute over time. Gold buff is going to have a house growth decrease by 20 gold. So at 3 minutes for gold buff, it used to be 270, but now at 3 minutes it's gonna be 210. So it's kind of interesting. They're kind of nerfing these 2 gold buffs. It's still gonna be really good for you to get it, but it's not gonna be as a snowbally kind of buff. I guess it's gonna be with these kind of nerfs. And right here, just kind of all these bug fixes right here. I'll let you guys kind of go through that. But that's the end of this big patch, so this will end up being a very, very long video. So I do apologize for that, but there's a definitely a lot of stuff to unpack and a lot of thoughts I want to kind of give on this patch. But I think outside of this patch, I was really hoping we get a roadmap kind of thing by now. It's because I guess the one thing I'm a little disappointed in is I don't see anything about hero progression or a mastery system or any forms of progression, because you kind of go back to the season 1 roadmap and talking about hey, for next season we're working on progression systems in game, or hey, we could see things like gameplay progression mastery tree for season 2 and beyond. So I was really hoping for the start of season 2 we could see hero masteries or progression systems, more reasons to keep playing the game and grinding it out. But we see no mention at all in this, so I don't know what this means. I don't know if this means that hero account permanent forms of progression is being delayed by another season, or is it getting delayed? So we get this patch tomorrow, and then the next really big patch we get the introduction of the hero masteries of permanent forms of progression. But either way, that's my only like main disappointment, that we don't get to see that in action right here at the very start of season 2. So I won't say too much more because it really depends on the season 2 roadmap video that they should be putting out shortly, because it was teased on Twitter that they were making it. So once we get that season 2 roadmap, then I'll be able to give like a full kind of impression and my kind of thoughts on it, because definitely I'm really interested to see what they have planned for season 2, and depending on what they do have planned and when they come, there's definitely gonna be a lot of feedback I might give on my end after seeing this whole season 1 through, and I just want to see what to expect and what to get excited for. But anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys are really excited for season 2, what you guys want to see and whatnot, how you guys feel about the carry changes, what you guys think of all these other changes and whatnot. But as always, thank you for all the amazing support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.